did. I told you.
All right, all good, Chris?
Every day.
Cool. What's up, everybody? Here we go. Another guild night, ready to start.
I thought it was the Ruby win.
Tonight should be pretty fun. As you guys have seen, if you're paying attention and you saw the posters, you know it's covering OpenAI, and my buddy Bob here is going to be the one laying some knowledge down on you. Before that, though, news, updates, all that fun stuff. Next week, we have Midnight Kraken Hour, so we're talking about news, events, things like that that are going on or have happened. It's been probably close to 6 weeks now since we did that because of Pepper Month, so we had a lot to talk about. After that, the 21st, I want to say, is the date. Yeah, the 21st, we will have Gucci Home Lab again, so you'll have John and Fake J doing their thing. Who knows what they have up their sleeves? I haven't heard from them, so we'll figure it out when we get there. End of the month, we have USF Summer Camp. If you want to participate in that or help out with that in any way, shape, or form, let us know. We'll get you added into the channel and all of the other prerequisite stuff you need to do. And then at the end of the month, on the weekend of the 30th, we are doing the medical training that we were talking about during Pepper Month. Lining it up last month didn't work, but the guy is going to come down from Orlando for us this month and put on a class for you guys. So come out, show them some love, learn some cool shit. As far as news goes, that's all I've got for you. So I'm not going to eat a ton of your time. I'm going to give it over to Bob. Real quick about him. He might have a slide on it. He might not. Who knows? But Bob works with me at Hack the Box. He's one of the educators and content creators with the Academy side. And you know who this guy is. And the man is brilliant. If you haven't had a chance to talk to him, make sure you interact with him tonight in chat. He'll be around for a while. He's a great guy, educator, family man, all around cool. I'll give it up to him.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Thanks.
One pill makes you larger and one pill makes you small, and the ones that mother gives you don't do anything at all. Go ask Alice when she's 10 feet tall.
How's it going, everybody? Thank you for the awesome welcome and intro and the kind words from Trey. I'm Bob. I go by Bob, Robert, LTN Bob, whatever of those you want to call me. I love technology. I love to share my knowledge. And what I have for you all today, I believe, is something that's going to transform our world in the near future and beyond. There's some things we'll be able to do. I'm going to introduce some concepts, and then we're going to actually get into interacting with this technology. So, and that is some artificial intelligence and machine learning, and I'll get into the terminology. So, first of all, I'm Bob. Again, I am an educator. I am a husband, believer, dad, content creator, technologist, and gamer. I call myself a technologist because I love cybersecurity. That's the discipline I'm in and the discipline I love. But technology as a whole, whatever, computer technology really is very interesting to me. And I just like to experiment. I'm sure like many of you all watching and in the guild, you play in a bunch of different areas, right? I know some of you do production work. Some of you are artists. Some of you are hackers. probably most of you. And you bring all these together, and I think it's good to be multidimensional, especially for those of you coming up, maybe the newer guild members. Think about that. Is just be dynamic, right? Specialization is great, but try to be dynamic. A little bit about my professional background. I went to community college and I studied in community college. I haven't finished my university studies, but I will say that I will never stop learning. My education is ongoing, and I don't think my education is limited to school environments. Neither is yours. I'm big on that. I'm a big advocate for just learning as a regular activity and a regular hobby. I've consulted many different businesses in an MSP environment as a sole proprietor, but also with companies, that are formally established as MSPs. A lot of the work I did there started as just like break fix and repair, and turned into, more of the sysadmin stuff. And then it got into security just naturally as I became more interested in why in the world these businesses are getting breached, and these environments are getting encrypted with ransomware. And that's what became really my specialty, was chasing down ransomware and helping businesses recover. Right, we would get calls at the company I worked for from businesses we had never met or talked to that were had just gotten hit from ransomware, and it encrypted all their critical business data. And I would go in there and recover, and then come up with a whole strategy, a backup and disaster recovery strategy. We can talk about that in a different talk maybe. And then later on, I felt the pull on my heart to become a college professor at the same college that I had graduated from. And I started teaching networking there. I got into security, helped the IT program grow and become more than just IT as we know it, but more so with a cybersecurity discipline to it. Because I personally believe anything in IT should have a cybersecurity influence. Security, in my opinion, is a perspective. It's not any one technology or black box you install on the network or on your computer. It's a perspective and approach to many different disciplines of computer technology. I've assisted a lot of students in getting jobs in the field, IT and security. That's one of my biggest drivers in everything I do. Is it helping other people? Is it providing value to other people? My specific thing and passion is really just education. It doesn't mean I think I know everything. It just means I get a special type of drive when I know that someone out there is benefiting from what I'm sharing. So that's me. I'm currently working at Hack the Box full time on the academy team, building modules. I've done quite a lot of creative work with Trey. We kick butt there and always innovate no matter what. And so I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to talk about AI and really a few tools that I think you may see coming across your social media timelines. And for those of you that are non-technical, this is a beginner-friendly talk as well. So I did that on purpose. I want to make sure it's as accessible as possible. So the first thing that came to my mind when I saw this technology, I didn't develop it. I noticed it, and I started doing research, and now I'm kind of obsessed with playing around with it and learning all the different things you can do. But the first thing that came to mind was this documentary, and I don't know if you all have seen it. If you haven't, you've got to see it. It's called General Magic. It's about a company that really never actually delivered a product and that was successful, but a lot of very influential Silicon Valley OGs came out of this company. It was like this company that incubated a whole bunch of great ideas, the cloud, certain things about the smartphone, a bunch of stuff that now is just Android, the Android operating system, a bunch of different things that are very influential in the information technology world came out of General Magic. And the reason I mentioned General Magic is because there is a quote in there in an explanation of the way tech works that really just never left my mind. It lives rent free. Every now and then you watch a movie or something and somebody says something, it sticks with you forever. And that was that the narrator, it was explaining technology and how tech often works with trends coming into new things. He described it like a wave where, you know, these new tech trends as they come in, they're like waves. And what that means is, and how I interpret that is, you know, let's say you see a new technology coming on the horizon. It's kind of like a wave that's starting to form. And if you think about how a surfer or a bodyboarder catches the wave, they time it just right. They know when to start swimming. And there's some things that can happen as a business, as an individual that wants to, increase your stake in your market, as as a candidate, that you may want to watch out for, because if you don't start swimming, you may miss it. Or if you swim too early, or if you just stay there and wait, it might just kind of be like a small bump and it passes you by. But I believe as technologists, we want to try to swim at the right time so that we catch these waves and get out ahead. Now, what does getting out ahead mean? It can mean a number of things. It can mean, you're a unicorn, which means you have a bunch of different skills that not many people have. So you can command higher salaries. I'm not saying everything is about money, but being well compensated for your skills is a good thing, right? But we also don't want to miss it to the point where the wave crashes on us and now like the skill set is antiquated, right? So this is one reason why we may not want to get too married to one specific technology, one tool, but to continue to have a feel for where the industry is going, right? If that's a thing, it feels like you can almost sometimes predict what the next thing is. You may not have made it, you may have seen it, and it's kind of something now you feel, okay, that's the future, right? Like cloud, right? A lot of people were like, why would I ever move all of my infrastructure to some huge tech company? I'll never do that. And here we see like companies offsiting everything. I remember working with one business owner who was so obsessed with the cloud. I could have sworn he was going to move his family to the cloud if he could. He could have offsited his whole family there. But I say that joking, but seriously, some of these technologies are huge, and we can see them not just in IT, but just in the tech spectrum, if you will. This is a technology I think that I'm going to show you today that I think is really going to make a splash like that. And we're pretty early on, at least in terms of what they're showing to the public right now. So I think it's good to start trying to experiment with this and figure out what could we do to adopt this into our workflows that we're doing today. What could we invent that could maybe use this technology? And I will talk about that technology now. So there's a few resources I would recommend people to start following, maybe books to start reading that can kind of give you an idea of this. One talk that I really enjoyed was on YouTube. If you all know who Lex Friedman is, awesome guy. He brings on a lot of people that he interviews from different spheres. One is, AI and artificial general intelligence. There was a guy named Ben Gertzel that he's like one of the, founding fathers of this idea of AGI. And it's a 4-hour conversation, but I would watch it. He's funny. It's really interesting and insightful. The way he explains things is pretty awesome. There's another channel that does a really good job staying on top of all this in short chunks. It's called 2-Minute Papers. Some of you might have heard of it. Everything AI covers it. Tools that are really practical and that you may be able to even go out there and use right away. He makes a video on it. So I would recommend subscribing to some of them. Of course, subscribe to the Neon Temple channel, as you'll see a bunch of different content come up. But these two books on the bookshelf there, I've read, and I recommend them. One is The Master Algorithm by Pedro Dominguez, and one is Superintelligence by Nick Bostrom. Two very different types of books. One is very like warning, danger. This could be quite a powerful thing in the wrong hands. The other is kind of more like getting you excited about it. The Master Algorithm is the one that's kind of more of like an excitement, where Superintelligence is like a warning. I found that the Master Algorithm had Pedro Dominguez had a really interesting quote in there that can help shape this conversation and talk today. And that was he was explaining how, our algorithms are already for the most part running a lot of society, right? When you look at, investments, the stock market, how trading gets done now. But he also explained airplanes, right? And how technically when that airplane is in the sky and it's on autopilot, it's being driven by an algorithm, right? I mean, there's a human driver in the seat monitoring, right? Maybe a couple, and overseeing what's happening just to make sure it's safe. But we already have some algorithms driving planes. We have self-driving cars that are coming and that are very much operational. You can see some of the stuff going on with Waymo and Uber that's very promising. So that's on the horizon. We're going to see that in our lifetime. So these things are maybe not things that we have to be the inventors of, right? But we do maybe want to build on top of what past researchers have already created. So when we think about the master algorithm or an algorithm driving a airplane, we think about, we didn't need to write that code, but we may need to know how to drive it, right? If you think about the applications now that are going to come out, we have to know how to drive these applications, and maybe start to move away from applications that are not as beneficial, right? So we'll get more specific as we go. So the big thing about the master algorithm is it's really explaining this idea that there's going to be an artificial general intelligence that can do a lot of what humans can do, right? So let's move forward with some art here. So you might have seen this on Twitter. I would recommend you look up and just follow that hashtag Dolly2. Dolly2 is a language model and really a text to image tool that you can type in anything your mind can concoct, and it will translate those words into an image. So you can see here this person who runs this account, Dolly2 Pics, created an image using this text prompt, Sandy's house, steampunk style, made with Dolly, right? So they just did Sandy's house, steampunk. And that's like amazing how vivid it is. It's incredible that it knew what SpongeBob was, right? So the fact that they said Sandy's house, that's what blows my mind about this tech. And we're going to play with, I haven't got access to Dolly2, so we can't really play with that. I would recommend get on that wait list, by the way. Google got Dolly2 OpenAI. Get on that wait list. Hopefully you get access. They seem to be, I'm not saying this is a fact, but they seem to be prioritizing influencers. So people that are sharing this. I am getting a sense that we're going to see a paid service, probably going to be affordable, come out at some time in the near future that lets everybody do this. But it's just kind of an interesting thing because, I've never personally been able to draw myself, right? But I feel like I have an artistic mind in terms of just creativity. So to see that, this could be something I could kind of conceptualize ideas is just something that, I would use it every day, right? So, and then that's just a fun thing. You could, as an artist already, I don't see this replacing people. I see this adding on to, as an assistant, kind of, hey, let's see what I can add on to this now that they built this foundation. Of course, art is, I feel like you can't replace any artist because they have a unique style. They have a unique way of doing things, a unique mind and experiences. So that's one. There's another project you should know about with this whole text to image movement. It's by Google Research brain team. It's called Imagen, and they are. It doesn't seem like they have an invite program like OpenAI, at least not yet. So they're doing some work there as well. So we see this is kind of fun. And one thing that's interesting from a learning perspective, deep learning and machine learning, is OpenAI just published some research of them training, a learning agent on video of Minecraft. You can look this up and maybe we can Google it together, but it just watched a bunch of video on YouTube of people playing Minecraft, and it learned to play Minecraft like that. And that's just amazing to me. So let's talk about this term AGI, or artificial general intelligence. OpenAI defines AGI as highly autonomous systems that outperform humans at most economically valuable work. That definition is kind of scary because, of course, you wonder, am I now antiquated? And when I was doing some research with Trey on this, we were playing with, and I'll show you, we'll do this together, just coming up with different commands, in our field of IT and security. There's a bunch of different things you can do just from the command line, right? Like if you want to create a user on the Windows operating system, and I'll show you in this tool, you can basically ask it that in human language without using really any technical jargon, and it'll come out with commands, right? You can imagine what this can do for software development, right? And even learning software development. And we'll go into that. It's not all theoretical. Those are the things we'll actually play with today. So the other definition I really need y'all to know, and many of you all probably do, you probably hack these all the time and try to harden them. Others may have just never heard of it. An application programming interface, or an API. Red Hat, which is a big company here in North Carolina, they define it as APIs let your product or service communicate with other products and services without having to know how they are implemented. So I think about, remember the game Pokemon Go? Maybe some of you still play it. Well, Pokemon Go itself has to use a map app, right? So, Pokemon Go interfaces with like Google Maps API, even Siri, right? If you have an iPhone, or, if you have an Android, you can ask your phone, hey, navigate to such and such, and it'll, interface with the API of that app, that Maps application. And, so there's a lot to APIs. It goes much deeper than that. That's just kind of like a practical example of it, because we are going to be playing directly with an API today. So that said, let's go ahead and experiment. Is there any questions so far? Anything you guys want?
Yeah, we got a couple, Bob.
Okay, let's go into the questions before we start playing around. And by the way, you all can do this from your phone too. So if you're just watching on your phone or tablet, you can do this and follow along.
So most of the questions, so one's more of a statement than a question, but when you started talking about the dynamic artwork that's being created with things like Imogen and Dolly, it brings in this whole new wave of like copyright law you have to take into account. Like who actually, one, is responsible for that art and then owns it? Is it the robot or the AI that's generating it? Is it the person who made the query, the programmer who made the algorithm that runs it? Like, now we're in like a whole different layer of things,
Yeah, I think that's more of a great observation, because I think they're still working that out with all these being in beta right now. They're working through some of these things in these use cases that we may not be considering. So look at the specific sites, like how Google's handling it, and how OpenAI may be handling the ownership. I know when it comes to the code, like I'm going to show you today how you can create, like lines of code. They do explicitly say that you own that. So anytime you're using these tools, before you go ahead and think about how can I put this on shirts or how can I sell this in some way, look into that copyright. So the reason I don't have a definitive answer is because it depends on which tool you're using, and that all that is still being worked out. So that's definitely going to be a weird phenomena coming up, is like, who owns this? If the algorithm did it, would it technically be OpenAI if I'm using Dolly? But hey, OpenAI didn't have that thought, right? That was my thought. So who owns that art is a great question. You'll notice if you look at any of these Dolly Twitter pages they already have access to Dolly 2, it generates the image and it stamps the image with OpenAI's logo at the bottom right. So right now, anything that's getting generated really is, there's some ownership of OpenAI there, because they're putting their logo on it. So yeah, That's a great question that I don't have the exact answer to at this point in time, but I would strongly urge you to go check out the content policies on any of these sites. There's a company called Wumbo that's doing quite a bit here as well. So first, you know what? Let's do the art first, right? So you saw in my first slide, I have a picture here of a robot playing basketball in the style of Da Vinci, right? This is just what popped in my head today, and I typed it out. I hit this crayon button and it ran, right? This is running on an open source model that was inspired by Dolly. You can read up on this on the site here. Anyone can go to this right now. You don't have to create an account or anything. You go to crayon.com. This used to be called Dolly Mini, but I guess what happened was OpenAI, as all this hysteria around Dolly 2 started to blow up. I would consider Dolly 2 has blown up right now because so many people want in now. Dolly Mini popped up as an open source model that anybody could access. And OpenAI asked them to go ahead and rename that because, I guess they thought it was kind of benefiting off of the name. So they've renamed themselves and upgraded their infrastructure to Crayon. So go ahead and let's take some time to play with Crayon a little bit. If you want, throw me some prompts, and when I say prompt, just a thought, that I can type out or copy and paste in, and we can see what it generates. Let's try to keep this G-rated. I know a lot of these platforms they build in some safeguards to prevent some people from putting some suggestive things in here, because you could imagine what people could try to create with this, but I would recommend you try it on your own. But just because this is seen by many, let's try to keep it. Let's keep it classy. So what do we got? What's our some prompts?
Ducks rowing a boat.
All right. Ducks rowing a boat. And you can see just the time it could take. It says up to 3 minutes. I've never had to wait 3 minutes unless it was like a really long prompt. Like I did one prompt was like Darth Vader eating a grilled cheese sandwich. That took about 1 minute. And it was, in fact, Darth Vader eating a grilled cheese sandwich.
Apparently, Trey has been trying to convert him to a cultist.
So we've had some of these going like as quick as 10 or 20 seconds, Chris. I knew you'd be really into this one.
Yeah. The Dolly, which is the one that you have to get a invite to, or you get on a wait list. You can go to their site now, OpenAI/Dolly, or just Google Dolly 2, and they will invite you, or you have to put your email in and you wait on an invite. From what I understand, the people that are creating it, it's not taking too long. So it looks like it did. Oh, here we go. There's the ducks rowing the boat. And that was about a minute, right? I would say I didn't see the timer. I stopped paying attention to it, but see, this is cool, right? I mean, you think about funny stuff, but the worry here, let me put on my tinfoil hat. If I had a tinfoil hat, I'd put it on anytime I start going into worry mode. Is like, imagine people that are trying to frame other people and they're doing malicious things. Like they say like such and such robbing a bank. Like I've seen people, there's like a whole thread of people creating like Yoda, and then you do like camera angle. It's like, these things are worrisome because you worry about, okay, and I'm just saying this is my tinfoil hat talking, is like, at what point now are we going to be like, what is real on the internet? I mean, if you're not already there, if you think about like images that go up, if these models, like this is an open source model, it's not as like vivid. It's good, but it's not as vivid in the images that it creates. With Dolly 2, you can see some pretty vivid images that look real. And it's just kind of concerning on that side. If I'm looking at both, when we think of the authors like Bostrom or or Pedro Dominguez, like, are we on the positive, like upbeat, oh, look at the future, this is amazing, but we also have to look at, okay, how could this be misused? Like, look at Yoda just robbing a store. Like, here's what you can see is that there's a few things here. He doesn't have a gun. And then his face, look at the face. It's so disturbing. I believe that the safeguards in the way they train these algorithms, a lot of these responsible organizations that are working on this tech, they're doing this on purpose to protect identities. Because when you start plugging in real people's names, like famous people's names, it could get kind of dangerous in terms of what people could try to do with that. And I'll let you use your imagination on that.
Well, what's crazy here recently, Bob actually posted a link today to it in Slack. People are turning around, generating these images, like how we were doing the ones for Nick Cage a while back with the blurred face, and they're running it through another algorithm that does facial correction on the image.
Yeah, that's
and just
scary.
turning it right back. Yeah.
That's scary. So yeah, we got to think about these things. So are there any other things you want me to put in here to I spell Shih Tzu? Eating a cheeseburger. Yeah, so we're gonna see that. This will be kind of funny. I have a Shih Tzu, so I'm wondering if this is one of my family members.
You can pump in your own stuff.
Yeah, that's my wife.
Yeah.
Hey, wife. Yeah, so like there's some fun stuff you can do with this. But
So I got a question for you while that's generating, Bob.
yeah.
They're wanting to know with, say, like Crayon or Dolly 2, is there any way that they're currently processing alternative forms of input like voice and stuff like that? Or is it just doing text-based currently?
Now, these two organizations, I don't know. There's a picture. But that's really cute, actually, this top right one. Like he still has the cheese on his beard. But yeah, so there's a company out there. Let me find them. Lyrebird AI. Yeah. This is creepy. And if you want to try this out, you can do this. They'll give you, when you sign up, if you so choose, and they give you some paragraphs to read, and you speak through a mic, or you speak whatever, of course you need a mic, whatever kind of mic, and it will actually create a digital twin of your voice, and it sounds just like your voice, just like it. And the more, it does have like a robotic twang to it, but as you train it, the more you train it, the more it sounds like you. And this has got me with tinfoil hat on again, because I'm thinking, okay, I'm getting all these phone calls from random things about this and that. Sometimes I pick up the phone and it's like nothing. And I've started to get to the point where like the tinfoil hat brains like don't even say anything, because what if it's on the other side, scammers are trying to duplicate your voice using this type of technology. So it's these are some of the threats we could see happening, where like, if you have access to this technology, which is very awesome and could enable a lot of great things for people, it can also be used by those malicious people that are thinking they're using their power for evil, right? The Sith of the world. So, yeah.
Bob, what was that website you were using the other day where we were generating text to speech in other people's voices?
I can't remember. You had that link. You sent it to me, but we could like pick famous people's voices.
Yeah, or like Jar Jar Binks or whoever.
We'll have to find that and share it in the Discord and in the YouTube description. But there's another tool out there that lets you, type something out and pick like from a list of profiles of voices. I saw one was like Tupac, and it sounds just like Tupac when you typed it out. So it's these things are, you now have to question what you see on the internet, like always. But yeah, so this is fantastic. This burger looks pretty good. So right? So we see here that it can generate anything your mind can come up with.
The other prompt we got was Neon Temple.
Neon Temple, okay. Yeah. Yes. I hope so. Because one of us in this close circle needs some Dolly 2 action. I've been checking every day. I haven't been this excited about access to software in a while. Like, of course, when a new video game comes out, I'm always like, yes, I want that game. Like Starfield is like, I'm anticipating that game, but I've never been waiting on software like this, like, all right, come on, let me get this. Let me get in. So when I do, I'm going to be excited. So this is generating, we can look at some of the facts here and the people that are behind it. We see, again, this is the big thing about Crayon, is that it is an open source model designed for anybody to get access to it, instead of like limiting access. But I know that if you look into why OpenAI limits access, they're doing it to try to be responsible in how they release this. I do know they must have saw the future financially, because they started out as a nonprofit. The OpenAI as an organization, they are no longer a nonprofit. They are looking to capitalize on this stuff. So, that's not saying anything bad about them. I think what they're doing is awesome. They're trying to do the socially responsible thing. Whereas, you have other people in the world, like one guy, he trained the model that's behind Dolly and all these tools I'm going to show you later too, called GPT-3. He trained it on 4chan. So he made basically like this hateful and terrible AI that just is racist and everything. You should check that out on YouTube. There's a guy, he talks about it and how he did it. So, okay. So let's see if it finished. Here's the Neon Temple. So that's how you guys need to renovate moving forward. And that's that.
Those are kind of trippy.
You might get.
I like this.
Hey, Bob.
Yeah.
Why don't you show us a couple of the ones you've made, some of the ones you thought were awesome and saved? I know you got a few.
Yeah, let's see. Let me pull some up here. See if I can get access to them. I don't have those saved. One second. Let's see if I have any locally. I remember my prompts, right? Like you can see that work again. I wonder if it does the same. You can tell with like a Darth Vader with his helmet. Anything I've generated, it shows his helmet. Unlike with Yoda, how it scrambled Yoda's face. With Darth Vader, it doesn't look like it's like scrambling his helmet or anything about the mask. So I wonder what that's about. I guess because it's not really identifying anyone, it doesn't give you an identity of any kind.
Yeah. So we had another question while we were waiting.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you've dug into this or not, like looking through the terms of service and data collection and whatnot. But have you seen or have any clue what they're doing with that data currently? Like, are they saving it? Are they reusing it somehow? Obviously, they're using it to train their model to make it more responsive. But are they doing anything else with it, like selling it? Who's getting it?
Yeah, that I don't know about that. I know, for example, with this project, Crayon, they're funding their project with ads. So it's not like they're selling this, your prompt, but they are, because you're not authenticated either. So it's not like they're taking your data. I know you could gather location and all that, but this open source project per se, they're funded by ads. OpenAI, I don't know, they're private, so it's hard to tell everything they're doing. Based on, you can look into some of the things that Sam Altman, the CEO, has said on YouTube and on Twitter regarding what their plans are. They do want to be socially responsible. They're not, I hope they're not some evil corporation, but they seem to be using the prompt and the invites very strategically, where they're training the model to do different things. And the reason they're opening this up and not keeping it private and no one has access is because they want to learn about how it can be used, right? Yes, the technology is awesome and powerful, but there's so many people out there in the way we think in different ways and creatively that they may not have thought of, like creating these types of images, or how can, which I'm getting ready to show you right now, which is even more impressive than this in my opinion, is what access to GPT-3, which is probably the most powerful language model that's been invented right now, that we can use anyone. We don't have to get on an invite list or anything. We just have to register if you choose, and that's what we're going to do. So this is Darth Vader eating grilled cheese, right? This one looks great. Just the way he's holding it with his white gloves, it just looks magnificent. This one has got his human bare hands out, Anakin hands, or Anakin clone hands, right? So let's get into the other side of this talk and the other tools we're going to use here. I'm going to connect to one of my VMs I got running on the network, just because I want to kind of see if we can run commands too. This is OpenAI's API. So remember earlier we talked about APIs as being application programming interfaces. We can interface with the functionality of this application, which is hosted on the web over the internet, accessible via a website. We can access the functionality without, being able to see the underlying code, right? Like we don't have to download this. It's a security thing, but it's also a scale thing, right? When you host your own stuff, you can typically scale it pretty well. That's kind of the promise of the cloud, right? Is on an as needed basis. They can, you can charge on usage, but you can also scale stuff, right? We see this kind of with cloud gaming coming into this prominence now. I know it's kind of a side fact, but I always have to talk about games. And when I'm talking about technology, is if we look at the cloud, that's where games are going in terms of accessibility and just the ability to scale. So, that's, my thoughts on why you would do something like this. So instead of giving it away and letting people download it and potentially getting access to source code and all that. So what we're going to do is we're going to play with the API. And when you sign up, so if you Google OpenAI API, so it'll take you to a page that you can sign up for if you want. I'm not saying you absolutely have to. It should send you an email almost right away, and you should have some credits to work with to play with the model. And when I first had access to this, I didn't know what to do, what to play with. I was just like, what is this thing? And then this is where I kind of started seeing like, okay, this is powerful. This is where I started, and I'm a little dramatic, so maybe I exaggerate things, but as I've been playing with this, it's kind of hit me that this is kind of like a very Google search-esque when you first come across a technology that's like, this is going to change everything. This is what I thought of with this. And bear in mind, I'm interacting directly with the API, but if I'm an application developer, software developer, in my mind, I'm thinking about all the applications I can try to write that can interface with this and get this type of functionality. So what we're going to do here is a couple things. We're going to think of things we want to learn. We're going to think of things that, we want to create from a software perspective. We could think of stories, right? Funny jokes that we want to see get developed. Think about anything with this. So I'll start out, right? Like, if I wanted to learn what IT was, what would I do? I would say, what is IT, right? That's how we would use Google, or maybe even tell it, say, explain what IT is, or let's be more specific. Period. Hit submit, and what you see pop up in the green text is what GPT-3, the language model, just spit out. It says information technology is the application of computers and telecommunications equipment to store, retrieve, transmit, and manipulate data, often in the context of a business or other enterprise. That's a pretty good definition, right? I could also take like a whole paragraph of something and ask it to summarize it, right? So if I went on a website, I was like, that's a really long article. Summarize this article in here. I could also say, let's see. And feel free in the chat to share other ideas too. I'm just thinking of random stuff, right? So come up with a movie plot. Let's just say plot that is a mix between Game of Thrones and Star Wars. And it's immediately when the Emperor of the Galaxy dies, his son and daughter, Luke and Leia, must battle for the throne, but they are not alone. There are forces of good and evil at work, and the outcome will determine the fate of the galaxy. So I didn't feel much Game of Thrones in there. So maybe it doesn't know much about Game of Thrones. Maybe it has to be taught. Excuse me.
Could ask it to write you a story, like say, two lizards playing chess.
So we're going to have it write a story about two wizards playing chess. You'll see a beginning, a middle, and the end. So I can read that. The two wizards were playing chess in the library. They were both very skilled, and the game was evenly matched. The library was very quiet, and the only sound was the sound of the chess pieces moving around the board. The wizards were so focused on the game that they didn't notice the time passing. As the game went on, the wizards started to get tired. They made mistakes, and the game became more and more chaotic. This is almost like got humor in it. Eventually, one of the wizards made a mistake that cost him the game. Oh, man. The other wizard was very happy to have won, and they both congratulated each other on a game well played. Two good sports. So that was kind of an entertaining story. There was a person on Twitter I saw sharing that they were trying to create prompts based on a story they wrote, or that they had GPT-3 write. And then they were feeding it to DALL-E 2 to create the book for it, like the images. That's kind of cool, right? So imagine in the future how it could maybe turn scripts into movies, right? I mean, I'm looking future. I don't think that's possible yet, but we're getting there, right? I mean, you're basically storyboarding at that point, right? Where, you're coming up with the story, it's showing images. That's a storyboard, right? So, this is the time it has saved. Let me show you guys something for those of you that are more technical. Let me show you something that is probably going to impress you a little bit, and then I'll take some prompts from the audience.
Before you move on,
oh yeah,
Vodka Not's dying to know if you can ask it how will we know when the singularity occurs?
Okay.
He said he wants to see if it'll turn on its own kind.
Singularity. Okay. Let's do that. So it says that singularity is a point at which a function takes an infinite value, or a point at which the function is undefined. In the case of the universe, the singularity is a point at which the density of matter and the curvature of space-time is infinite. The singularity is also known as the Big Bang. It didn't really tell us.
There either wasn't enough context for it, or it just skirted the question altogether. Like, I don't know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if okay, here we go. I removed the trailing space, and it's like it now understands, okay, you're asking me. So it says there is no definitive answer to this question, as the concept of singularity is relatively new and still somewhat theoretical. However, some experts believe that we may be able to identify the singularity by observing a rapid acceleration in technological progress and change. Additionally, the singularity may be accompanied by a period of major upheaval and transformation in society, as traditional systems and structures are replaced by new technologically advanced ones. That is a very competent answer, right? Like I would not, if you asked me that, I would have been like, technology is about to come together, and yeah, it's going to be kind of cool. Like that. That's
by the time we realize it's too late.
Right. So yeah, this is interesting, right? I want to show you one thing. This could put me down a just rabbit hole and put us down a rabbit hole, which I really strongly recommend you guys go down with this. And that is like very like cut and dry technical things. Because when you think about one of the gaps I have in just my technical skill set is just the ability to develop software, right? Like there are some things that I have the mind for it, but I just don't have the skill and the knowledge in that moment, right? And that maybe I just want to go, okay, I got to go out and learn Ansible, or let me just go ahead and learn the syntax for this language to figure out how to do that one specific thing. I don't know, create a word list generator or something. And this is gonna write it for you. And this is like, I didn't believe this. This is one of those things where my jaw dropped, and like this stuff works. So for example, if you're tech, you know, automation is great. If you can write scripts for stuff, fantastic. So this is where it kind of like breaks the learning curve for me, or it lowers it. In other words, it flattens it when it comes to writing code or scripting. Let's say I was like, create, and I'm going to be real broad here, but it's still going to be technical. Create an Ansible playbook that, installs Active Directory. Let's do some things that IT people would know. That installs. Let me see. Installs Active Directory and name the domain neon temple.local. Boom. And we could have done more specifics too, but just the fact that it knows what I want it to do is just, and then it writes it in YAML. That's like, to me, that's different. When I see that, I'm like, I just press submit. Like, why are you coding so fast? I just typed submit or hit submit. So I'm just going to give that a thumbs up to say, hey, that was pretty good. Because this will run. And how do I know? Because I played with this for a while and I was just like, dope-de-do, like that's kind of cool. It works. It looks like it works. Let's do something like practical. Like what I'm going to do right here is like have it write me something that can create like a folder on the desktop, right? So no, that's not even, let's do like create a user, right? So write a PowerShell script that creates a user, a local user. Let's see if it knows what that means. A local user named Bilbo. Let's say create name in Windows 10. Let's be specific. Okay, let's see what it does. Boom. And it created the password. Here's some PowerShell. Let's try it. Because sometimes it's not 100, but other times it is. So let's do, let's open up. I'm in my VM here. PowerShell. Let's copy this. Oh, they already did it. Okay, so it's gonna new dash local user. Is that a commandlet? Name, Bilbo, password, boom. Oh, I probably need to be admin, right? You'll notice you got to play around a little bit to see how it works and to just use different prompts. Sometimes you got to be real specific with the prompt.
One of the comments we got, Bob, was it was like it'd be really cool to turn around and use the playgrounds to generate test questions, say for a test or something we're studying, and actually feed it the materials for the exam to make the questions from.
Oh yeah, or create like an essay outline if you're in college, or you got to write essays or outlines for something. Let's see, why am I not getting? Pasting. I might just, there we go. So it supposedly created it. So let's do what was it, net user? There's Bilbo. So it just created a PowerShell script or one-liner for us that creates a user. So to me, excuse me, a lot of people want to learn PowerShell, right? Because you're a sysadmin or something, you want to just do stuff faster, maybe create stuff for AD. Like imagine it. The thing that this does in my mind, the thing that this does for us from a learning perspective, it reduces kind of the need to kind of sort through all those blogs, right? Because everybody's Googling stuff. And then it removes that step and it gives you the code, right? And that's what makes me laugh about it, because I'm like, this is unbelievable, right? And you just saw it work.
You could even turn around and ask it to explain it to you. There you go.
This, right, exactly. You know exactly where I was going. So explain this. This command creates a new local user account named Bilbo. The account password is set to password with that 0 as an O, and the account is set to 10 years from. That's not a good practice. We know that, but that was pretty cool, right? I mean, of course, we'd have to iterate. We couldn't just let it like, hey, API, just be on my sysadmin API, right? Do my thing and just admin my network. It couldn't do that at this point. And I wouldn't have trust in this thing to do that. I would still have to vet what it's creating. But this is still like the learning curve for all those commands, right? If I was Googling through it, I'm sure that I probably would have found that pretty easy. But still, the fact that it created it based on me giving it a prompt, that's really impressive to me. It tells me that the algorithm knows PowerShell. I don't even think I asked it to write it. Yeah, I did. I did ask it to write in PowerShell. Sometimes you just tell it Windows and it gives you like, it just kind of guesses based on what it knows about Windows, what Windows could interpret. So
the stuff I found interesting is, now think about what this means for those, say, working in a help desk, and like some guy had a script they used to run a bunch of stuff, and then they just fire him or he kicks rocks and there's no comments or nothing, but you need the script to work, right?
Right.
So now feed it back into Playground and have it explain the script to you.
Yeah, this is true.
Or it was also cool too, when we were playing with this earlier, how it would start commenting its own code as you got into deeper scripts and stuff like Python or C. It would actually comment what it's doing on those lines.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's kind of smart. And this is funny because I'm not sure that they intended for Playground to be used like this, because they have what's called Codex, OpenAI. Codex is specifically a model custom tailored and trained on code. You might have heard of GitHub Copilot. It's a plugin you can put in an editor, and it's open now. I think it's in public beta where you can play with this. Actually, I think they've announced like a payment model for this now, where in your editor, you just, in the comments, you say what you want to do and it starts helping you write it. I found in playing with this, I do have this, in playing with it, you have to know what you're doing when it comes to being like a software developer. Like you have to know like all the language. You have to know, at least when I say language, I mean the terminology and what's possible. With this, you just give it like human language. Like it's just weird how it works so well. But yeah, Codex is another thing that's really amazing that OpenAI is working on, that I would recommend as IT and security professionals, or, just even if you're getting into invention, it's lowering this curve to learning software development. And I feel like there's something powerful about that, where it's like, I don't really need to like spend like a long time learning how to code. If I know it's possible, I understand the theory, I can like learn this way. It's not like, no, there's no longer a need to learn code. Don't get me wrong. It's that the learning curve for me, as I look at this, is lowered, because I'm like, I understand how the tech works for the most part. And, I have a good sense for it. I just have to know what I want to accomplish, and it does that. So is there any
You're having fun with it now too. It's not just like you trying to read through like 500 pages of Stack Overflow or something.
Yes.
You can ask it to do something and then explain to you what it did.
Yeah.
And it increases, I think, that time of absorption and makes it easier to learn and more objectively fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. I mean, we can have it, tell us a joke. We can have it teach us a concept. We can have it explain a concept so that a third grader understand or can understand it. Like you could say, explain. I don't know. What's a concept? What machine learning to a third grader or at a third grade level? Yeah. Right. So machine learning is a method of teaching computers to do things without being explicitly programmed. Explain the benefits of the Python programming language at a third grade level. Python is a programming language that helps people tell computers what to do. Python is used by many big companies like Google, Facebook, Instagram. Python, it made it relatable. Python is easy to learn for beginners and has many features that make it a great language for making games, websites, and apps. Pretty general, but pretty good definition too. That's kind of how you would start out, right? That's not going to get you going developing or anything, but you could ask it to write you a script, right? So I don't know, write a Python. I'm doing like some technical, throw some technical in there. Write a Python script that pings all the computers in this subnet, right? In the boom. I don't know if with the Cedar notation, it'll know it's a subnet. Let's try. See, it knew I was talking about a network. That's what blows my mind is not just that like when you're specific, it does what you want it to. It's indicating it knows what I'm talking about, right? I'm asking it to write a Python script that pings all computers in this network. And I know this is kind of technical for those of you that don't know what this is. It's just basically a program that's going to ping a bunch, that's going to send a test message to a bunch of computers on the network to make sure they're up. And then look what it put in there. I never even asked it to print, right? It's got print statements, which means, if any of the computers within this network receive, are down or are not reachable, firewalls up, or if the computer's off, it'll say down, right? And then if, else it's up, right? So if it does respond, it's up. So this is different, right? I mean, it knows what it's doing. It's not like you're just kind of like piecing stuff together. It's not just if else statements. You've seen the meme out there that's like AI is just or if then statements. It's doing a lot more than this knows what it's doing. It does. So what else would you guys want to say?
Let's get into some of the juicy stuff. So like one-liners for shells and stuff.
Yeah. So if we're looking at from a security perspective, like how could I get a reverse shell, right? We've seen there's websites for those of you that know security and hacking, like reverse shell is when you get a target computer to send back access to the command line. Essentially, for those that don't know, that's kind of like what a reverse shell is in a nutshell, if you will. And you could say I don't know if you're looking at a vulnerable machine or you're looking at a target on a network that's like Windows server. I don't know, like it's a web server. I'm just coming up with this off the top of my head. You could tell it to write a PowerShell, I don't know, one-liner, or I'll just say, right. It's going to probably pull up something it already knows that it learned from GitHub or something. Write a PowerShell reverse shell one-liner. I find myself Googling payload all the things all the time, or just bookmarked it. Bam, there it is. There's other tools you can do that with, but the fact that it'll write one here, that's not quite it. But we could do like write a ASPX web shell. it can write like websites too. It went a little crazy with that one.
Now we've been noticing that it almost looks like it's context sensitive of that space. Why do you think
Yeah.
that is?
I'm not sure. I have no idea. Like, what is it filling in there? What does it assume I mean if there's a space there instead of a period? That's a good
Could
question.
be
I don't know.
maybe like an unfinished thought or something like that.
Yeah, maybe it's just seen as an unfinished statement because it does give you that warning every time. What else could we do? I mean, I'll show you this too. This is in private beta, so what it generates, isn't going to be great every time. But when OpenAI has a demo they put on their YouTube channel where they show Codex. Codex is like their model that it's for programming. This is kind of interesting because it shows you what it's writing as it's writing it, and it kind of gives you like this sort of like IDE thing. So what do you guys want to do? Like, do we want to create a video game? Like we could create an what do they call it? It's writing the code based on what I asked it. Let's see if it creates a game. Can I play? No, that's not quite it. So we can clear that. Create a web page, advertising grilled cheese. You can tell I like grilled cheese. Yes, it is one of my favorite meals. I guess I didn't ask it to put any images in there because I include cheese. I haven't had great success with this Codex JavaScript sandbox doing like images. You can tell it's trying to pull an image from somewhere, but it never really works for me. Maybe it'll work this time. See how it's like trying to get a JPEG and stuff.
What about asking it to include, say, like ASCII art of a grilled cheese sandwich?
We broke it. But do you see how it tried right here? It tried to pull an image down, a JPEG. They were very, very successful in their demo on YouTube. Oh, what did I do? Error. So we could troubleshoot that, or we could try something new, right? Well, let's see what happens when I give it something broad. And feel free to do this too. This is something I think I just got invited to it because I had an account on OpenAI API on the website. Can I play? Okay. Yeah, it gave me a block. I guess this is a side scroller, guys. Game of the year material right here. So
Red block run.
I guess you can create boundaries too. I could tell it, hey, don't let me go, don't let me disappear, things like that. So like that's kind of cool, right? I didn't even tell it anything about programming, right? I was just like, create a side scrolling game, and it did. And that's incredible, right? Like create a vulnerable app. You can do that. This not just with Codex, but with the playground. You can do that with the playground too. So yeah, anybody want to see a prompt, like a joke or something? Like we could have it tell us a joke. I don't know. Tell us a joke about, I just came up with this thought just randomly. And I said us. Why do they think she could cross the road to get to the Discord server, right? Okay. It used a classic and it iterated. All right, what else?
It's interesting that it still accepted the prompt though, and like it understood us as potential you and someone else watching, not just feed input.
Yeah. What if we just, oh, go ahead. Okay. Oh, let's do yeah. Forgive me if I misspell as I type. Cybersecurity Club. That's pretty classic. Cybersecurity Society. Okay, that sounds a little bit more legit. Association for Computing Machinery. Cybersecurity chapter. That one's like a little bit, that you're putting that on a resume and it's looking kind of cool. You know, so that, you know, just the idea of brainstorming too is like, give me an essay outline for, you know, the topic of, I don't know, right? Mental illness. I'm just being really, really broad. This is cool. Like this right here. Do not let this do your homework, okay? Or maybe do.
Ask it to write you a jingle about noodles.
Let's do it. Okay. Which kind? Ramen? Ramen are the top tier. Noodles, noodles, we love noodles. It's still going. Let's wait. Noodles, noodles, we love noodles. They're long, they're short, they're thin, they're thick. We eat them with chicken, we eat them with beef, we eat them with pork, we eat them with lamb. Noodles, noodles, we love noodles. In soup, in a stir fry, or just plain boiled. Give us noodles anytime, day or night. We'll slurp them up with glee. What? They make everything right. Noodles, noodles, we love noodles. The Chinese love them. The Japanese love them too. The Italians love them. There's no dish they can't improve. So if you're feeling sad or if you're feeling blue, just have some noodles and you'll feel better real soon. That's pretty good right there. I like that. You know, you got people that do that for a living. Like they write jingles and they're good at it. And it's, you know, those things stick in your head and now you know that company because of that. So, you know, you think of what just this is one of the other things that proves for me is evidence that it's like one of those transformational technologies coming on the horizon because it's multidisciplinary, right? Like when we think about how at least information security in that community uses Google search, you know, of course we are on that technology, but so is so many other industries and, you know, and other search engines too. I'm not just Google, but just as a technology, the search engine is so widespread. So this can be too, right? In terms of what it can help you generate, what ideas you can get from it, just the utility. I see the utility of it. I see a public utility of this because I mean, at this point, search engines are like a public utility, right? I mean, I know we don't necessarily pay for them monthly with our money, with our data, but you know, it's a public utility like water or internet too. It's just I use it so much.
Well, think about the implications of these too for certain job roles. So like Dolly 2 or Crayon for people like Chris, who his livelihood is generating art
Yeah.
and generating like multimedia and all kinds of cool graphics and videos and stuff. And now we're training computers to kind of do the same job. And in
Right.
some instances do it quicker. It may not always be better, but it can do
Yeah.
it faster. Or for people like, say you work in copyright, and now instead of like your original words or your ability to come up with those hooks or ways to do press releases, this AI can spit it out in half the time and cost you nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is going to be interesting to see how this kind of hits the world and how people adopt it. Because, right, I mean, it could be amazing technology, but if barely any people adopt it, you know, it's not going to have that impact, that societal impact that we see with things like the internet, social media, Google search, or any search engine. I keep using Google because, that's like a very popular one. But, all those things like really change the way that we do things. Like I think about, like, what did we do in IT? Just the IT support people. Like, what did we do before Google search? Like, come on. I mean, we had to learn, but there's nothing. There's no way you can learn everything. So you had to like open up the manual, right? You just kind of had to use intuition. And now, like with Google search, it's like it's different. You're kind of boom. I'm gonna go look for what somebody else did. Has anybody else seen this issue? A lot of the times they have. When I was doing IT support full time, I remember I would be Googling the problem as I was on the phone. I would have them on mute as they explained it. Sometimes I literally came across an article that had the fix. And like, by the time they were done telling me like all the stuff, I had it fixed. So it was like, that's kind of interesting. But also like with something like this, I at my point in my career where I want to do more scripting and I want to be able to come up with that to help with my workflow, and even to come up with proof of concept for like applications I might want to create one day. Like this is a powerful thing, just that learn by doing idea of just, of course you got to read and you got to watch videos, but this gets you right to it. Like boom, it's starting to create code for you, and you can study that code. You can take code snippets, put it in here, and it can explain them to you, and it be accurate. There's a lot here, and there may be ways that you all are thinking of now. Let us know in the comments of things you've tried to use this with and new ideas you've come up with on it.
Yeah, some of them I can't quite comment, but one of the more PG rated ones they've been asking is to have it do a 4chan green post.
Okay. I know this thing can. On what? I've seen this do one before.
Yeah, I know this one works.
How about this? Create. This is a green post. Okay, yeah. Okay. What else have we got? I mean, there's so many things out there we could do this with. We could play within Windows here, have it create scripts.
We have someone asking to have it generate a catchphrase for a SWAT team.
Should it be funny or just?
Yeah, let's go funny.
Based on or for? Like based on a SWAT.
No, like for them, like it's a SWAT team's catchphrase.
Okay. Let me make sure I got a period and no trailing space. Trust us, we're professionals. It does have a sense of humor too. That's what's weird. You can almost detect the sense of humor. It's like when you say, tell me a funny story, like it'll put humor in there. Like earlier, I don't know if it's just me thinking things are funny, but like when we did the wizard story, there was humor in that story for some reason, just picturing those wizards. I don't know, but maybe it just the fact that it was a funny prompt was already like, it already knew it could be funny, right? Tell me a funny joke about a Florida man. We got to be careful with this one. Why did the Florida man cross the road? To get to the other side of the alligator infested swamp, right? That's it, right? You guys have those. I know I've been there. I've seen your dinosaurs roaming about the streets, getting into trash cans.
True enough.
Right. So there's a lot we can do here. Is there anything else you guys want to try? Maybe, different things I'm always wondering like what people come up with, because sometimes like someone has a suggestion of something you haven't thought of, right? Like one day we went on a rabbit hole of just having it come up with nmap scans, which is a tool that you can use to scan a target computer on a network to see like what services are open, and if you can see what's running on that system over the network. But it knows nmap. Clearly it knows it. Like when you ask it, it knows the flags, the options, it knows. It's weird. It's weird to me that this program we're working with is like learned these tools in a similar way that we do. And this is kind of a glimpse at this future that's predicted, where there's an artificial general intelligence. And we know, like, if you look at OpenAI and their site and read about them and watch videos and learn, that's their goal, right? Is like to make an AGI. And this is, my understanding of what an AGI is, this is getting there, right? I would say, based on their definition. So it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I would agree, because it gets context. It understands like basic human, like emotion, like humor, funny stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. Let's see, the last prompt I got for you was ask it to tell a Mitch Hedberg joke, or a joke like Mitch Hedberg.
So we could do tell a joke that who? What's his name?
Mitch, MITCH, Hedberg, HEDBURG.
Like that?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to be able to tell because I've never heard of this individual. So whoever asked that, let us know in the chat or in the comments or whatever if this is accurate.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Okay. I was going to say, because I don't know where that's from. It knows about pop culture too. Like it knows that.
It's interesting there too, is they gave it his given name, not his assumed name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Use this at trivia or at trivia night.
Right. That's pretty cool, right? That's just like something you would, yeah, I don't know. This thing's kind of scary at the same time. You're like, this is really something else to ask this, all these different type of questions, and it's just feeding us back accurate. Like, that's why, like, I would expect, like, just my expectation of like software would be, it would just, it would mess up here, it doesn't know, it's like, but it's like spitting out, especially when we ask it to like create something new or something that's requires multiple different things having been learned, right? Like when we asked it to create that script for pinging, a Python script to ping computers on a network, it knows what does it know? It knows networking, it knows Python, right? It understands how to understand human language in English, right? I don't know any other language. So if I was typing in, other languages, I'm sure it could pick that up. Like that's phenomenal to me.
It even goes a couple steps deeper than that too, because it didn't just know and understand like basic Python syntax. It understood what packages were available that could do that function,
yeah,
or handle something like ICMP. So there's a lot of context to that.
Yeah, and isn't that kind of, when we think about the nature of learning, kind of the like ultimate goal when it comes to learning certain things? I can say that at least within a technical discipline in like IT and security, is when you're trying to learn something, you normally have a reason for it, right? It's like, okay, I need to learn how to create this user using a PowerShell script. I know PowerShell exists. I know what Windows is. I know it's possible to create a user. Like I had to have that understanding developed. And then the context is like the ability to apply it within that context, right? The fact that it can do that is what tells me that it's a learner, right? It's not just like this, it's not just doing if else. It's not guessing. This is not guessing. This is like pulling from a knowledge base. Like it has a knowledge base, like a human does, right? Because I mean, if I sent one of you a message in Discord, like I don't know, I'm working and I have a problem. I don't know, I need help. What's wrong with this script? Or can you help me create a script that does this? And I sent you that in Discord, you would respond in a similar way, right? It would be a text coming back to me. So when I look at this, it's like I'm actually talking to something here. Like this is, I don't think it's sentient. You've probably seen that in the news. Maybe the guy that was working at Google has claimed that they have a chat bot that he thinks is sentient and like aware. And this, sometimes you get that, but like, I don't know. That's just kind of like that's a deeper philosophical question.
Well, think about this too. From like you're going down a really big rabbit hole there. Now let's make OpenAPI a Discord bot. If I put
Right.
questions in a channel, is it going to answer me? Like, how would I know the difference between it being a bot answering me or just someone else that's in the Discord?
You couldn't. I mean, if it like you gave it a username that looked like it was like a person and, like whatever, gave it a name that a person would give the name, you could tell it to give itself a convincing username, right? And it would do that. Like it would understand the context. It's just, it's kind of, it's crazy. That's a crazy thought to think. Like you just, / whatever the name of the bot is, right? And ask it anything, right? Ask it anything. So,
or even have it just take the channel thread itself as input. So like as a question or text hits, it responds in turn.
right. Just like it's just another person in chat. Yeah, that would be a cool experiment to do. Like to see like if you could build that. I know they if you're going to write an application that interfaces with it, it has to go through them, excuse me, open AI. I always say open API, but it's open AI is the company that develops this API and the technology behind it. So, you can think of those applications that could do amazing things here. There's a guy you should read up on. Let me go find the let's get this out of the way. 1 second. I'm going to show this website. Let's see. Let me see. I think his name is. Yeah, this guy, you want to follow him. He's kind of like an influencer in this space, backs T Future. And he has this Substack, which is, he has some really fascinating articles where he kind of writes about what he thinks the future is going to look like. And then also what's happening. He's kind of a voice in the industry on this. And he's got a YouTube channel and he talks about businesses. I saw one article he was referencing where he talked about like what kind of businesses could form using this, and if you're developing an application and you're trying to be using OpenAI's API as a fundamental competitive advantage in whatever space you're in, you're going to have to be careful because it's open to everybody. Technically, everybody gets that same functionality. So maybe what does it boil down to? We don't know. It's kind of hypothetical at this point. Is it that the training data has to be very customized to your industry? What is it that could separate you when you use this, right? I just feel like it's going to be, it probably already is being implemented with a lot of companies. Is a competitive advantage of it? You're keeping it secret that you're even using it? Is that part of it? Because, this is kind of like yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, like for you, Chris, like on the NFT side, what would this mean for that? How would this change the way you make art?
Yeah. I'm actually counting on it just going public because I think before I get an invite, but maybe that's just me being disappointed or whatever. But it's coming where they're gonna find a way to make this monetized through some means of like a public like fun product, because I think this isn't just like a thing that happens for IT, but just that whole art generation thing is just it's really fun, you know. So, are there any questions? I mean, that's really all I had for today. I wanted to start the conversation on this and on, you know, what you guys think, and I wanted to kind of, for those of you that aren't aware of it, to try to just play with it like in your day job. If you know you're allowed and you know you have the time, just see if you can implement something in your workflow, right? Whether it's an app that interfaces with the API or just interface directly in Playground and play with different ways you can try, you know, come up with scripts or, you know, maybe even at school, right? I'm not suggesting any form of plagiarism or cheating, but, you know, when it comes to using this, like, how do we define that? That could be a really cool, like, topic to write about, like plagiarism and cheating in education in the age of these natural language processing and these learning models, right? And these algorithms.
Well, yeah, or how would an instructor even check it? If you had them make a summarization of a topic and then turn around and submit it, like, unless there was something on the back end where the AI is submitting it also to something like the stupid tools you would use to check against plagiarism. I forget the name of it right now, or to put it into something like Grammarly or all those other tools. How would you really know, right? If it's never
Yeah.
been submitted, it's technically original work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's just one of the thoughts I had with putting my like educator hat on is, you know, this, you know, you got to make your assignments a little bit more customized, because if there are things that have definitive answers out there and you have students who are online, I mean, this is already the case, you know, their answer is going to be like found in seconds, right? So it's like the way, and that's a whole other conversation, the whole idea of what should like a quality education look like, you know. This can beg that question too, is like, you know, what for a computer science uh, graduate, or not even graduate, but a computer science student going through a program like this could probably help you, right? I mean, when you hit those blocks, I personally don't think you're cheating if you're using this to help understand code or to help understand a requirement, because it's not yet there where it could really understand a business problem and turn that into code. But it is at the point where if you understand what you want to do technically, you could create the code for it using this, or at least something boilerplate that can help you come up with it. I mean, a lot of people are using like other people's code anyways, which is one of the beauties and curses of this industry, is you can go out there and just grab somebody else's code and use it. That's great, but it also can create problems too. So with this, what does that open up in the future if it really gets adopted? So there's a lot to think about with this, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, and I've been bringing it up wherever I go, really, to people that I think are interested in it. I'm always showing it off, like, hey, check this out. You know, like, what do you think? How would you use it? So, yeah, that's Is there any other questions out there? That's all I really had. I had a fun time tonight. I know we're supposed to go to 9, or it was on the schedule for 9, but that's all I had.
Yeah, no, this has been awesome, man. As of right now, I don't have any new questions popping up in YouTube and Discord. Right now, a lot of the people around me are kind of heads down, trying it out and doing their own thing.
Nice.
But no,
Yeah,
this has been very interesting, man.
yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I can still hang out if you guys want to experiment or whatever, or play around, talk, questions about anything, this, or I'm big on networking, IT, cybersecurity, getting jobs, the state of education. So if anybody has any questions in any of those realms, I'm willing to talk about that. But in regards to this is developing. So I'm hoping you guys find some new things here. We can all just share it.
Yeah, I'll give them a minute to see if we get any last questions coming in.
Okay.
I know if you get a chance later tonight, interact in the discussion a bit. There's a lot of people in there I think that share views with you or you'd like to argue with, especially about stuff like education and how college is and whatnot.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, that's one of my like big passion points is formally the state of education as it is today within IT and cybersecurity. I think we've got some major work to do there. I've done a lot of work with the community colleges, and I think that's kind of like a great model for like formal education. And yeah, I think it's just we got to get more hands on. We got to get ahead a little bit in terms of like what's being taught. Less auditoriums, more labs, less students in the classroom. One single classroom. Honestly, if you have like 100 people in there, there's no way that gets too hands on, right? That's hard to manage. So, I've helped build labs for schools too that were hands on networking labs, like where it's now full blown. The classroom is a lab, and there's switches and routers, and the experience is just learn hands on as you go. Like when you're reading like a supplement, but the main learning is hands on. So that type of approach I'm a big fan of, and I think everybody deserves a good education, a really good one, especially if you're paying for it, right? So those are some of my beliefs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't see any new questions rolling in, good sir, so I think we're going to let you off the hook and let you go enjoy some of that vacation you're on.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. Well, it's been nice having you on tonight. Thanks for putting on the stream for us.
Yeah. Thanks for
I will
having me.
hopefully see you in a few days here.
All right. Yeah. We'll see you probably this Sunday. All right, Chris, thank you so much. And keep that artwork up. It's awesome. Appreciate that.
We're good, Chris. Let's roll out.